Hey guys, long time no see. It's me, Youthful Yields, and I'm back from my trip finally. I just want to make an update video on my portfolio and how that is doing. Fortunately, I was able to scrape by enough internet while I was abroad to check in just, a couple times every day. There is no way I could have uploaded a video, and I didn't have a computer or anything. So even with doing this, it still took a while to load and everything since I didn't really have a lot of service. But I've been monitoring the portfolio since then. So yeah, I guess we'll look in the stats just for this last week. So you can see here, our total portfolio is down or is up about 0.17. Our M1 finance is down 0.34. Uh, SPY is down 0.28. But and Weeble is Weeble. Just to remind you, that's MSTZ. I'll get into that later. Yeah, Composer's up 1.4%. So to update you guys on that, so since the 14th, I have been running this algorithm, or these basically group of symphonies that I've been working on. I found them from a database, and I basically did a lot of genetic algorithms to find out the best pairs. And once I found that, I basically mixed them together and came up with a really good symphony that could both give me high returns, low drawdown, and low volatility. And ideally, that continues. Now, the backtest on this specific one is actually not super far, to be honest. But and it has one of the most volatile and prone to I don't know what you call it, but basically where the back test does not line up with the live testing, just given the closed pricing and how they do their back testing. It's a whole conversation for another time. But anyhow, it's doing pretty good so far. Ever since I've done it, you can see from here to here, we're up at about a total of 1.46%. Where in the same time period, SPY was up 0.68%, and our M1 Finance is only 1.16%. So that comes out to a CAGR of 54% currently. That is not that long, though. If you look here from the 14th to the 26th, that's only about 2 weeks. So obviously, it's not enough time to really do anything or say anything. But realistically speaking, it's done pretty well. At least in these last 2 weeks, the annualized standard deviation is a lot higher than these two. But also, this is actually pretty low in comparison to, you know, the earlier this year. And I could probably show that off. You can see here, though, we're actually less max drawdown than SPY. And I'll get into that as well. And I could probably demo my thing, but we'll see. Maybe I'll do that in a different video. But anyways, my point is, it's done pretty well so far. So I'm happy to update that. And I also did put a $2,000 contribution. Now I'm thinking about or upgrading this to 3,000 a month. It's gonna require quite a lot of work to probably not eat out as much and do like meal prep and stuff. But I'm kind of considering that just so we can accelerate this even more. I just also want to be careful. So if I do that, what I'll probably end up doing is put 1,000 in Composer and then do 2,000 in M1 Finance. Usually, what we do is 500, 1,500, but I'm trying to experiment more. Now, if you look at this, technically, since we started tracking this, we're actually down about what 8%, almost 9% here. Or sorry, here or 7%. In comparison to M1 Finance, we're about 10% up since tracking this, and SPY is about almost 11%. But my point is, what I really would like to do is stick with those strategies. So earlier, what I did was I found the best strategies that I could that I thought weren't really overfit. Really didn't. Probably should have put more research into those, to be honest. But what ended up happening is I didn't really look at those correlations. And I touched that touched on the correlation matrix back on a few videos ago. But basically, when you have like a lot of correlated returns, correlated drawdowns, you're going to experience higher drawdown periods. So yeah, your total return might be high, hypothetically. Your volatility is going to be high in those strategies, as well as your max drawdown. If they're correlated, your all of the symphonies, so let's say you're running 5 of them, which is what I usually do because it's easy to manage, all of those might drop at the same time if they're highly correlated. If they're not highly correlated, which is kind of what you want just enough correlation to where, they're not inversely correlated, but not enough to where they're directly correlated. So anyhow, so I don't know. Like I'm not gonna be doing another contribution until, let's see, like probably about 2 weeks away, like on the 18th or around there. So another thing I've been thinking about, I can't remember if I brought this up in a previous video, but I would like to kind of standardize my contributions because I've done the 18th for quite a number of months now. The problem is, obviously, the 18th of every month changes. So I'm thinking of maybe doing my contributions maybe on, like, let's say the first week. Another thing that happens with Composer is once you deposit more money, it takes actually quite a bit of day. I think it takes 2 days. With M1 Finance, it's literally the next day that you have access to that money. So what I might end up doing, I don't know if it's a business day thing, and in which case this is going to ruin my plan, but let's just say I do it on Saturday on the first week of or I guess it'd be, here. And then I basically do it on Saturday. It takes 2 days. And then on Monday, I can go ahead and actually use that money. That way, it's always on the same time in the month, and makes my job easier, not having to like manage the weekends and stuff like that. So I don't know, just food for thought. Moving on to the individual portfolios, we can see Webull is up quite a bit in the last little bit. Obviously, if I go back into the stats thing, like the last 7 days, we're up 21%. Now that's not saying much because you can see down here, like this blue line here is the portfolio, or sorry, the performance. If we had basically started at 10K since what is this, like May 19th, right? So you can see it got all the way up to here, and then it came all the way back down here, not like, within a span of 2 months. And now it's all the way back up here. So really, it's just volatile. But I think starting to pay off in a good way, right? Like I say pay off, but we're down, 80% on this position. So hopefully eventually this comes back around, because obviously our total cost was almost $1,300, and that would have been really nice to have. But I don't really see, like, again, if this goes to zero, like, let it be, let it die. I'm not going to touch this until I probably won't touch it until it comes like maybe within $1,000. So we have only lost a couple hundred. But it really depends on the momentum of this. I really don't believe in MSTR. I think they're just kind of like a gimmick stock. They're not really doing anything in terms of the actual company. There's nothing that makes them special, in my opinion, compared to any other company, because they advertise themselves as the first Bitcoin treasury or whatever. But realistically, it doesn't matter who's the first. It matters who has the most money in it, and which they do right now. But my point is, something like BlackRock could literally buy as much as they have tomorrow, and MSTR is completely pointless, right? So they say they're a software company, but that's bullcrap, man. It's bullcrap. So they're just getting lucky, in my opinion. And Michael Saylor is a fraud, but that's literally proven, by the way. But I digress. Let me go ahead and get into the last week performance on this. Is that right? This says it's down 3%. Well, I'll just do like the last month, obviously, since we were gone since then. Let's see. So it's up about 2%. That's $400. The main growth there was from technology, in which case it was from mostly Google. I think the biggest thing that came out here, I can't remember exactly when, but I think this is because Google won their case, or they didn't win it actually, but the ruling of like what they had to do was not, oh, we're gonna like, I think it was an antitrust case, but one of the things that people were you know thinking was gonna happen was they were gonna lose Chrome, but they didn't. So I think, because of that, obviously they went quite a bit up. Apple, I honestly don't know. Ugh. Apple's just Apple. It's a pretty stable stock. Everyone knows that. And then Microsoft barely up, but it's up. After that, we have energy. Surprisingly, main thing there is from Exxon. So yep. And then we have semiconductors, and that one is all from AVGO. AVGO is actually insane. I'll get into my holdings in a second, but I'm pretty sure this is still by far my most valuable stock in terms of unrealized gain. So that's I'm happy about that. Oops. And then the last three, so most down on Coca-Cola, which is interesting. Something I don't know how many of you guys go to Costco, which I'll probably see in this list of down stocks, but Coca-Cola, I just at least my nearby Costco finally has the Coca-Cola, so that was a big deal there. Trading out Pepsi for Coca-Cola, but oops, that was wrong. We have industrials. Largest loss there was from Honeywell. Not sure why. I haven't been really tracking this as well as I have with the algorithmic trading stuff, and largest loss here was from Amazon. And there's Costco. So, all in all, obviously we're up for the month quite a bit. So there's that. And if we go into the holdings and go into the unrealized gain, we can see here, I just saw it. AVGO up 60%. Realistically, this is since about March. So pretty happy about that. Google up 53% and AMD up 45%. Our largest loss, we have Vertex, Costco, and AMT. Now, you can see there is a bit of red here. If we count here, that's 3, 6, that's 10, right? So a third of our portfolio is actually down. But all in all, since being open, we're up about 11%, which is pretty nice. I do think that also counts some of our other stuff. Like this is since the apex of this account. So it probably includes the dividend stuff that I used to do. In fact, you can see here. We also got some dividends, by the way. We're estimated, I guess, $45 in December, which is crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. We had a lot of, quarterly income at this point. $45 is crazy, though. So that's interesting. I wonder what paid the most. $7 from AbbVie. That's crazy. $6 from Chevron. Anyways, so we're getting some income here and there. It's not really a whole lot, but yeah. So moving on, last but not least, to our Composer portfolio, we have about $4,888 in our portfolio. Now that is still down. We have about $5,000 total in our account, or in net deposits. So we're about, you can see here, 2.21% down. But all in all, we're actually doing pretty well now since I made that adjustment. And yeah, so let's see. Can I do total portfolio? This thing is so buggy. So I wish I could show you guys, but it's like super buggy. They changed their chart and it's, yeah. But I'm really excited to keep going with this portfolio. I have made some other ones here. You can see I kind of prefixed them. All of these are mine. So I had like some genetic algorithm stuff that I custom made. I used PyMu. Just didn't really turn out amazing, to be honest, because some of these take a long time. You can see this is the one I'm kind of running a variation of right now. Max drawdown since the out of sample date of September 8th has been 1.4%, and annualized return is 84%. So that's super nice. If we actually come over here and go to the OOS and then go down, you can see how that lines up to SPY in that same period. So there's that. It's about matched there. You can see though, if I go to max, again, it's not like super long, only goes back to 2022, but you can see here max drawdown 5.5%, and standard deviations just a little bit higher than SPY. So pretty nice with a 127.8 return. So I have some other ones here that I've done a little bit further. So you can see here, like this one goes back to 2019. This one goes back to 2013. And my most recent one, I like here, was doing, I did brute force. This is genetic algorithm. So brute force, I got all the way back to 2007, and with a 49% annualized return, 10% max drawdown, and about 15 standard deviation, going all the way back 50%, which is crazy, right? And another thing I really like about this one is there's a lot of holdings, or like possible holdings, that is, but all of these are sector ETFs or really just broad ETFs, or not broad, but they're not single stock tickers, is what I'm trying to say. So um, I'd consider running this as well because this is back tested more. You can see in the same time period, SPY went down 53% max drawdown, standard deviation is 20%, and the Sharp there and Calmar there. So pretty cool. And for the last month, it's up about 4%. Last 3 months up about 7%. This isn't going to be your the most special thing in the world in terms of like gains, but the most important thing is it's able to provide a analyzed return of 50% in that all the way back to 20, or again average, back to 2007. So if we do, like, let's say we had $5,000 after 10 years with a 49%, and we do our $1,000 every month. After 10 years, that turns into $2 million, and that's only a total of $120,000 of contributions. So total interest is 1.7 million after 10 years. Even just 5 years is like incredible, right? So total interest about 160K. Now, in that same period, like if we are able to achieve that 129 of the current portfolio that I'm running, which I know we can't for an extended period of time, because realistically we've only been running the backtest has only been running for about 3 years. In that same period of 5 years, we have $1.1 million in total interest, and then also in the 10-year time, it's $75 million. Now, I have very little faith that that's actually going to happen, because we're more than doubling every single year. And that's kind of the what's the risk of looking into strategies on here, because you can see here cumulative return on Holy Grail is astronomically high, like 166%. The problem is this is not, it's not gonna be that amazing. And there's other ones in here that are even better than that. If I do custom exposures. I wonder. Yeah, like 2,000% annualized return. But again, this only goes back 1 year, so you got to be very careful about what you choose to look at on Composer. You can use this database here for Composer. And so, you can say, technically, you can do the same thing on this Discover page that you can on here. The problem with that is a lot of the community, which the biggest community that I know of for Composer is Investors Collaborative. And that's what the ICDB stands for, Investor Collaborative Database. But what you can do is you can actually go ahead and add filters here. So you can say, annualized return is greater than 25%, but it is less than 100%, for example. And you can see here that we're sorted by annualized return, and it's within those margins. And there's a lot of different columns here. So you can see, like the name of the symphony, the user ID. So this is based off of the Composer user ID. The annualized return OOS. It's kind of hard to see there. Max drawdown, Sharpe ratio, Kalman ratio, standard deviation 1 year, 1 month, 3 month, 1 year. The sample size, the file size, which is kind of interesting. The OOS date and the first backtest date. And then there are actually some there are some strategies on here that no longer work. So if I change this to true, I'll show you guys one of those. And we go here. What that looks like is on Composer, you'll occasionally find these if you're in the community. It no longer supports that. So what typically happens here is like this was delisted. So that's all figured out as well. That is the default filter. If you were to, reset the filter, and I think you have to refresh. Or if I just go here, the default filter that's applied or supposed to be applied is that contains inactive is false. So you can see there's 5,146. If I were to take that off, we go all the way back, all the way up to 5,791. So gets rid of quite a lot of trash because all of those aren't really usable. But they're still there because, they might not be usable because of a delisted ticker. But if you find a ticker that's highly correlated to that ticker, then potentially you can make use of it. But anyhow, guys, this video is going on pretty long, but glad to be back. I'll be doing a video, hopefully, on the yield max distributions. I know another person reached out to me. I don't remember when, but they were asking about, they said they were looking forward to the yield boost ETFs and my update video on those. So I'd be more than happy to do that. I could probably do that video this week because I think those dropped in February or March. So it's been about 6 months because I think my last video was in May, and that was a 2-month update. So yeah, it's been about 6 months. So I'd be more than happy to do a 6-month update on those. Yeah, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you guys a wealthy future.